So now it's time to look at some debugging which you can do if the job fails in any of these stages of the process. So it could be connecting to the source system and getting the data out. It could be in the mapping engine itself. It could be the validation of the destination data layout, and it also could be rejected by the destination system if the data you're sending are not as per the requirement. So there are multiple stages where the overall process can fail, and obviously every system is different and synchronization of data is complex. So you need to be aware of the overall process, and you need to be aware of where to go, how to find out where it actually failed and how to fix it. So going back to the Megaventory and WooCommerce, you can see it's a custom API on both sides, so we are not using any wizard kind of pre-made templates. We are using manually configured endpoints. So we'll go through this step by step through each of the stages in here. So we'll look at the source data, getting the data in. We will look at the mapping engine, and we will look at the destination system rejecting the requests you make. So the first point where it can actually fail, as mentioned just now previously, it could be failing when it tries to get the data from the source system. So if we look at the history of the job, that's really our friend in here. So if we look at the history of the job, if it's all successful, you will see the download source and you will see the download output, and log should be empty. If anything goes wrong, you may be missing the download output, you may be even missing the download source, or the log will not be empty while you have all these three in here, and obviously it's gonna tell you that there has been an error instead of done here. So let's demonstrate it. So first things first, if we go getting this to the first stage of getting the data, let's say I made a mistake in here, and instead of get, I misspelled that and it's got now. Let me save this here. Let's see what it does and what it actually shows in DSYNC. So if I run this job, it fails right away. You could see how fast that was. And if I look at the more, I have just the log, which means we were not able to get the data from the source system. So that should be your hint that, okay, there is something wrong with the connection to the system. It could be unauthorized, it could be, I don't know, invalid URL, as in our case, the system could be down. So to find out more, we can have a look at the log, and we can kind of see this is what Megaventory returned to us, and it said the operation inventory location stock got does not exist for this service, which is basically telling us that I don't have any available REST API. You're trying to reach something which doesn't exist in my system. So that's your first point of contact. You have a look at the log and basically try to figure it out from here. So I would go into the Megaventory API, I would look at all the web services available, and obviously I would then kind of see that this inventory location stock got does not exist. So I would find that yes, it is misspelled, it should be inventory location stock get. So that would be the first thing for me, make sure that DSYNC can connect to the source system and get the data out of it. So if I go back, whoops, that's too much, and fix it, save that. We move on to the mapping engine, and we will see what this gives us. So the first one here was just the log, so you know there's something wrong with the source system getting data out of it. Now we go into the mapping engine, and I deliberately make it fail. So we can simply just remove the product SKU which is required in here, save it, and let's try to run the job. Now this will result in an error because there won't be anything in the required field, so that's actually thrown from DSYNC, from the mapping engine. And see how this changed. So you have the log, but you have the download source. If you can download the source data, that means the data was actually sent from the source system to DSYNC. So there's no issue with getting the source data. There is some kind of issue afterwards, and the thing which happens after getting the source data is the mapping. So you immediately know, okay, there is a problem with mapping, validations of some sort. So again, you would go into the log, and you can see that there's a destination required function error, and it's telling you that the SKU is required and cannot be empty. So again, you would go into the mapping. You can see this product SKU field is not mapped, so you would map it back, and that would fix the error. So again, just by looking at the job history, you can kind of see where it failed and where you need to look. And the third point where it can fail is when you send the data to the target system, but it's malformed, it's got wrong format, or some data is missing, and the system rejects it. So let's do that. Let's see what happens if I try to update a product but do not specify the SKU. So let's take the SKU out, and let's put a custom field. So let's see if WooCommerce actually fails this. They may not fail it, I'm not sure, because it may skip the non-existent product just as easily. So let's try to run this, and I think it will actually skip. If it can't find the product, it will still run, but it won't do it. Yeah, there we go. So that's done. So we need to make it fail in another way, and I think the best way would be to change the data layout so that it's not as per the API documentation. So let's see what we can do here. We go to the destination data layout. Let's save this. And let's make this field, let's change this. So instead of products, I say it's product, and it's not an array. No, that would fail in our mapping. So let's make it a product only. Let's see what it does. So let's save this. We will override the mapping engine again because we're changing destination data layout. So I just regenerate the map here. And let's just map the skew for now on it. We don't need anything else for this demonstration. And let's run this. Let's see what WooCommerce says. And it failed it. So in this case, we were able to download the source. It went through the mapping and something was sent to WooCommerce, but WooCommerce rejected it. That's why you can see source, output, and log. So let's see what the log says. And it says API response status code missing products data. So because we've changed the format of the data which is sent to WooCommerce, and we no longer have the products data array in there, WooCommerce basically said, no, I can't do anything with this. That's not as per my specification, and it rejected it. So this is basically an overview of where to look for errors or mistakes based on this more drop down in the jobs history.